Hi there, you're watching Market Cafe on ET Now with me, Shreyanshi Singh and Snehi Shah, and over the next 1 hour, we'll get you news and updates from within the country as well as across the globe, and also tell you which stocks you should be keeping on your radar. But first things first, well, let's take a look at the US markets. And Snehi, it does look like the S&P 500 as well as the Nasdaq really did close at those record highs, and quite a week coming in for the S&P 500.
Absolutely, lots been going on with the US markets recently. It's been looking good other than a few pockets of worry coming in for Wall Street. Hi there, good morning. Let's take a look at what the US markets have shaped up to be over the course of last week. If you take a look at just the futures last night, US stock futures were a little changed after the S&P 500 and Nasdaq posted their third straight winning weeks. It's looking quite good for both of those indices ahead of key inflation data that's due out this week. Now remember, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq have closed at fresh record highs yet again on Friday, rising 0.9 and 3.3% for the week respectively. So big moves coming in over there as well. Nasdaq seems to have done pretty well, outperforming both of its peer indices. The Dow was the lone laggard, closing the week down more than 0.5%, and those moves come after the November jobs report showed stronger than expected growth, but not so much strength as to dent investor hopes, and the Federal Reserve will lower interest rates this month. So that is something that is still going to be a point of contention based on what the November jobs report has been like. The CME Fed Watch tool shows market pricing in an 85% chance that the target rate will be lowered by a quarter point at the conclusion of the December 18 meeting. The 17-18 Fed meeting is going to be a very important meeting to watch out for, because it's the first that's going to happen after the re-election of Trump. It's his policies have to come into play. There's still some time for that, but lots has to already start peeking in for the Fed. The Fed is now in the blackout period ahead for commentary of its policy setting meeting. Remember, last week we had a whole host of Fed commentary coming in from different governors, different presidents, but now that's going to be stopped for a bit till the 17-18 meeting. But investors will get one final piece of insight into their decision making with key inflation data set to be released this week. The November Consumer Price Index due out Wednesday is expected to show a slight uptick in pricing pressures, and economists polled by Dow Jones expect a 0.3 and a 2.7% monthly as well as yearly increase respectively. Now that would be up from 0.2% and 2.6% respectively from the prior month. On Monday, investors will await October wholesale inventories data due at 10 a.m. ET, which is the American time. Corporate earnings continue on Monday with Oracle's results expected after the close. This is largely what the US markets were looking like. If you take a look at the US jobs report, the key highlights also, the US economy has added 227,000 jobs in November. The September-October payrolls have been revised upwards by 56,000 jobs as well. The jobless rate, however, has spiked to 4.2% and the workforce has contracted. So we'll see the impact that these numbers are going to have on the market today, the US market, once it opens up for us in the evening. But it's going to be a key data point to watch out for, as well as the inflation data that's due later this week. But while that's largely about the US, Shreyanshi, tell us what commodities are also up to.
Well, absolutely. It's been quite the interesting week coming in for oil prices, because when you take a look at oil prices, you're looking at a fall come in. This was, of course, the week where OPEC Plus announced their decision as well. But when you take a look at the moves coming in on Friday, analysts did continue to forecast a supply surplus in 2025 despite the OPEC Plus decision to postpone planned supply increases as well as extend deep output cuts to the end of 2026. So when you're looking at price levels, Brent crude futures lost just about 97 cents or 1.3%, close around that $71 per barrel mark, and US WTI as well shed just about $1.10 or 1.6%, settled around that $67 per barrel mark even for US WTI. For the week, you have both benchmarks notching losses. So Brent fell more than 2%, WTI as well dropped about 1%, and the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, like I said, pushed back on the start of oil output rises by 3 months until April, and also extended the full unwinding of cuts by a year until the end of 2026. So what they've gone ahead and done is also postponed cuts, but along with that, they've also delayed the pace that they were previously forecasting in terms of this particular unwinding of cuts. Now, Brent has largely stayed in a tight range of $70 to $75 per barrel in the past month as well. So that's the kind of trajectory that you've had coming in. For Brent, you do have investors weighing weak demand signals in China, as well as heightened geopolitical risk in the Middle East. So that's largely what we're looking at. In terms of factors for crude, in terms of gold prices, then let's take a quick look at gold prices also, because gold prices inched higher after the November US job growth report also suggested Now, the labour market continues to ease gradually, leaving room for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates again. So, when you take a look at US gold futures, 0.2% uptick is what you have, and spot gold was also marginally higher. So, that's the kind of trajectory that you have both for oil prices and gold.
Okay, so lots happening on the commodity front as well. On that note, let's take a look at all the action that we're expecting to see in the market today back home as well as globally. Now, back home, when it comes to macroeconomic indicators, we don't have much happening today, but from the US, you have wholesale inventories data coming out. China is going to be important to watch out for because just in a short while, you'll have the PPI and the CPI data, which is the inflation print. It's going to be very important to watch out for, especially the impact that it has on the Shanghai index today. You also have GDP data coming out from Japan, so keep a very close eye on how Nikkei also pans out today. But on that note then, let's focus back home, talk about some corporate action and board meetings. And Vodafone Idea and Metropolis, both of these counters are going to be in focus because their boards are going to be meeting to mull fundraising via the issue of preferential shares. So it's going to be an interesting announcement coming up. In terms of IPO watch, then you have an IPO that's going to be listing today. Lock-in period is also going to be ending for a couple of recently listed counters. In terms of other events, you have Abu Dhabi Finance Week that is going to be kicking off. So that's going to be an important event to watch out for. Any important commentary coming there on the global economy outlook is also going to be very important to watch out for. So keep a close eye on all of these cues in today's trade.
Well, absolutely. And let's kickstart taking the rest of the news updates then, and quick look at some key commentary coming in from the Federal Reserve officials. Chicago Federal Reserve President Austin Goolsbee said that economic conditions will determine how fast the central bank cuts rates. Here on, he also called the overall progress on inflation encouraging. Meanwhile, you also have Federal Reserve Governor Michelle Bowman, who also sounded a cautionary note and also said that inflation risks to the economy remain real, added that labour market data remains hard to interpret, and also backed a cautious gradual rate cut path.
Okay, let's place the spotlight on key comments from US President-elect Donald Trump. He says he will not try to replace Jerome Powell from the Fed chair post upon taking office in January. Trump added that he didn't think Powell, who he has sparred with in the past over interest rate levels, would go quietly. Remember, his vow to implement across-the-board tariffs could also complicate the Fed's efforts to keep inflation in check. Just last month, Powell said he would refuse to leave office early if Trump tried to oust him, arguing that removing him or any of the other Fed governors ahead of the end of their terms is not permitted under the law.
All right, moving on and shifting focus to Japan, where the economy grew slightly more than estimated in the third quarter, largely led by support from export demand and capital spending. GDP was up 1.2% on a year-on-year basis. That figure slightly above that 0.9% estimate, but still well below the 2.2% growth seen in the prior quarter. Meanwhile, GDP grew 0.3% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, slightly better than the prior reading of 0.2%.
Okay, then zooming in on some geopolitical action now, shifting focus to West Asia, a turning point in the region's history across generations. Syrian rebels have seized the capital of Damascus, sending President Bashar al-Assad fleeing to Russia after a long-drawn 13-year civil war and nearly 6 decades of his family's autocratic rule. The fall of Assad's government wiped out a bastion from which Iran and Russia exercised influence across the Arab world. Moscow has given asylum to Assad and his family. Mikhail Ulyanov, which is Russia's ambassador to international organizations in Vienna. The fallout from the collapse of Assad's regime will be beyond American control and could lead to a conflict involving regional countries, and Turkey warned the Iran ambassador to Syria. Let's go across to my colleague Srinjoy Chaudhary to get more updates on the Syrian unrest right now. Srinjoy.
Damascus has fallen and the rebel forces have taken over the country, most of it. And this is a very important moment as far as the West Asia is concerned, because at this point, this was entirely unexpected, at least from India's point of view. It didn't think that Aleppo would fall and then Damascus very shortly. But it has happened very quickly. The Turkish foreign minister spoke about the whole incident, and he seemed to be very supportive as far as the rebels were concerned. But he said the minorities have to be taken care of, and there should be no revengeful attacks on the Ba'ath Party, which was President Assad's party. Besides, he hoped that there would be peace and things would work out well. Importantly, he felt that the international community should be of help to ensure that the entire situation works out very well. India, of course, is concerned. India has asked all Indians in the area, in the country, and the capital, Damascus, to move out as quickly as possible.
All right, thanks, Enjoy, for getting us that update. Tell you what, let's also go across and listen into what US President Joe Biden as well as Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu then had to say about this entire issue.
At long last, the Assad regime has fallen. This regime brutalized and tortured and killed literally hundreds of thousands of innocent Syrians. The fall of the regime is a fundamental act of justice. It's a moment of historic opportunity for the long-suffering people of Syria to build a better future for their proud country. It's also a moment of risk and uncertainty. As we all turn to the question of what comes next, the United States will work with our partners and the stakeholders in Syria to help them seize an opportunity to manage the risks.
This is a historic day for the Middle East. The collapse of the Assad regime, the tyranny in Damascus, offers great opportunity, but also is fraught with significant dangers. This collapse is a direct result of our forceful action against Hezbollah and Iran, Assad's main supporters. It set off a chain reaction of all those who want to free themselves from this tyranny and its oppression.
Okay, well, that's a wrap on all the headlines we wanted to cover bright and early this Monday morning. But on that note, we'll slip into a very short break on this edition of Market Cafe. And when we return, we'll take a look at how the Asian markets have opened up, how they're faring in trade. So you stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi there, welcome back to Market Cafe. Let's take a look at what the Asian markets are up to right now, how they're faring in trade. First up, we have to talk about Shanghai. That's edged over to the green. Good move coming in for the Shanghai because like we told you earlier, China's consumer prices as well as producer price index, that number is out now. China's CPI rose less than expected in November, climbing just 0.2 from a year ago, according to data from the National Bureau of Statistics that was just released a few minutes ago. And in this poll by Reuters, it expected a slight pickup in consumer prices to 0.5% in November from a year ago versus 0.3 in October. So that's looking good for the Chinese economy right now. On the flip side, China's producer price index declined for the 26th month. Producer inflation fell by 2.5% year-on-year in November, less than the expected 2.8% decline as per the Reuters poll. So slightly under expectations there, but a fall nonetheless on that front is good. The persistent near-zero inflation shows that China is still grappling with sluggish domestic demand and deflation at the wholesale level. On the back of that, it's looking rather good for the Chinese markets right now. Shanghai you had was up 0.1%. However, let's shift focus, talk about Hang Seng. Now that's dealing under some pressure. A 100-point cut coming in, 0.5% lower for Hang Seng as well. Nikkei now, remember the Japanese economy has grown slightly more than estimated in the third quarter. Nikkei reflecting all of that positivity. 0.5% uptick, a 150-point uptick coming in for Nikkei this morning. Let's shift focus, talk about what Australia is up to right now. In ASX, 0.2% lower. Not much happening, completely flat on that front. Lastly, let's talk about South Korea. Remember, lots of turmoil happening internally in that country as well. Index continues to fall, 0.6% lower is where the Kospi is right now. But shifting focus back home, let's talk about what we have done on Friday where we shut shop. It's been a phenomenal week for us coming last week, and 24,677 is where we shut shop on the Nifty. Implied open at 24,735, indicating a rather quiet start for us this morning, but towards the positive side. So let's just buckle up and see what the trading day has in store for us today, Shreyansi.
Well, absolutely. Let's see how we kickstart the week as well. But for now, let's also... Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, let's zoom in on some news flow that we got over the weekend then. And in terms of important news flow, you do have agriculturists as well as farm economists that met and urged the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to provide special package to boost the domestic output of pulses as well as oil seeds. Meanwhile, FM Sitharaman's team's meeting, in fact, with farmer organizations comes at a time when scores of farmers are protesting at the borders of Delhi, the national capital, demanding the provision for legal backing to the minimum support prices. or MSPs of agricultural produce, as well as the enactment of a law to this effect in the current winter session of the Parliament. In fact, later she also heard suggestions coming in from the representatives of the MSME sector. Economists on Friday also rooted for a comprehensive manufacturing policy as well as steps to bolster private investment. So that's the latest coming in as far as this particular meeting is concerned.
Well, in ET Now's Prakash Priyadarshi caught up with Dharmendra Malik, the Speaker of Bharatiya Kisan Union, and Sanjay Singh, the Director at CTED, on the suggestions made to the Finance Minister. The discussions range from inclusion of farmers in Fasal Bima Yojana to launching a new scheme to compensate farmers when prices fall below MSP. Let's go across and listen.
मुख्य मुद्दा जो हमारा था वो ये विषय था कि किसानों को C2+50 मिलना चाहिए। आज जो भारत सरकार देती है वो A2FL है और C2 की बात करती है। C2 और A2FL में बहुत अंतर है, उसमें जमीन का किराया नहीं जोड़ा जाता, तो MSP तय करते समय C2 के आधार पे MSP दिया जाए। और जो MSP है वो एक बेंचमार्क है, उससे नीचे बिक्री नहीं हो सकती, ऐसा भी कानून होना चाहिए। और उससे नीचे जो बिक्री होती है उसकी भरपाई या तो सरकार करे या फिर उसके लिए जो भी व्यवस्था हो, MSP से कम किसान की फसलें नहीं बिकनी चाहिए। दूसरा जो फसल बीमा योजना है प्रधानमंत्री जी की, उसका किसानों को कोई लाभ नहीं मिल रहा है। वो एक पूरे ग्राम लेवल की योजना है और जब आपदा आती है, अगर आधे ग्राम में आती है और आधे में नहीं आती है, किसी को अग्नि या दूसरी तरह से हानि हो जाती है, ओले की एक बेल्ट बन जाती है, तो उससे कोई लाभ नहीं मिलता। तो हमने कहा कि जब तक किसान को इकाई नहीं माना जाएगा तब तक इसका कोई लाभ नहीं होगा। किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड पिछले 15 साल से 3 लाख रुपए की सीमा पर अटका हुआ है, उसकी कम से कम 2 गुनी महंगाई होगी तो उसको कम से कम दोगुना किया जाए, 6 लाख रुपए उसकी सीमा रखी जाए। और ये जो कृषि की जो मार्केटिंग का विषय है, देश में कहते हैं कि भाई हमारे पास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बहुत बड़ा है। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की हालत ये है कि 7,000 मंडियां देश में हैं। अगर 5 किलोमीटर पे एक मंडी की आवश्यकता है तो देश में 42,000 मंडी की आवश्यकता है, तो APMC को बढ़ाने का काम किया जाए।
Alright, then moving on, in the latest on the M&M versus Indigo saga, the automaker has gone ahead and renamed its electric origin SUV as BE6. In a press release, in fact, the company has announced that it will be contesting brand rights of the vehicle in the court. Let's go across to my colleague Sumit Chaturvedi, who is standing by with more details. Sumit, tell us a little bit more about this particular topic.
Oh, well, absolutely. It looks like they have, for the time being, they have clearly gone with the peace. And because their vehicle launch is coming in the next 2-3 months, they have taken a kind of a U-turn and gone back and calling it now BE6. Though they have said that they will keep on continuing or contesting the whole issue in the courts as well. Well, the issue is of the call sign 6E, which Indigo says it has been using since last many years, and Mahindra is using for its electric vehicle now, which is clearly not allowed because they have patented it, and Mahindra is going to go to court as well. But for this time being, they have clearly smoked. They have gone to have this as the BE6. However, Mahindra said that it's quite disappointing that two big Indian brands are fighting over something which is not of a big consequence. They in fact went ahead and said Tata Motors, while they were having a car named Indigo, did not contest Indigo with the airline name Indigo as well. So they have come out and said that it is not in the overall for anybody good that they keep on contesting these small things in the court. However, for the time being, Mahindra has taken a step back over the brand name controversy.
Well, let's just focus from that story then. And with the Indian markets commanding a premium over global peers, several multinational companies are also unlocking value in the country by trading at a higher valuation compared to their parent companies, even as their market cap is relatively much lower. That is evident from an analysis of the forward price to earnings of listed MNCs on Dalal Street. My colleague Sharad, who's put all of this interesting data together, takes us through the figures. Sharad, take it away.
Well, yes, MNCs in India are lining up their IPOs, and the value unlocking is coming for their global parent companies in India. And of course, the high growth story of India commands a premium, and that's what we are seeing. LG Electronics, firstly, is important because they have reports suggest that they have filed a $1.8 billion worth of IPO. Hyundai Motor, which was listed 2 months ago, right now the stock is of course trading below the IPO price. And interestingly, Maruti Suzuki, if you have a look, the market cap went almost double in this year itself if you compare it with the parent company. Now let's look at what the valuations are there. let's look at the global companies valuations, and these are the overall valuations. If you look at it, ABB is almost 22 times, and almost 16 times is coming in for your Nestle India as well. Now these numbers which you'll talk about it, these are your global companies numbers, and also if you compare those numbers, you will see these numbers are at a significant discount when it comes to the overall valuations. Now the Indian companies, if you look at it, they are trading out of premium valuations when their listed arms come up. ABB India, Colgate Palmolive India, HUL, Maruti Suzuki, Nestle, to name a few, where their valuations are on the higher side. And of course the FMCG names is something which you would be looking at for. Of course the market cap is also something which you would be tracking.
Alright, thanks Sharad for getting us that lowdown coming in on MNCs unlocking value. But moving on, then Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to inaugurate LIC's Bima Sakhi Yojana today at an event in Haryana's Panipat, according to a statement coming in from the state-owned insurer. In fact, we do have Anurag Shah standing by with more details. Anurag, tell us a little more about this then.
At 2 p.m. today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to launch LIC's Bima Sakhi Yojana at Panipat, Haryana. Bima Sakhi is a women-centric agency distribution scheme which LIC is starting. So female from age of 18 to 70 can become LIC agent, and apart from the commission which LIC gives to their agent, they will be eligible to get stipend amount also in first year, second year and third year. So it's a new advantage for LIC agent, the female LIC agent, that in first, second and third year there will be a stipend also will be provided by LIC. So this scheme is targeted for the financial inclusion and women empowerment, and we know that a market leader LIC, which in life insurance space have a market share of more than 60%, and 95% of LIC's business is through the agent network, agency channel, and LIC has more than 14 lakh agents, and out of 14 lakh agents, 24% agents are female. So new scheme, which is Bima Sakhi, is a women-centric agency distribution channel which LIC is launching.
Okay, thanks Anurag for all of those details bright and early this morning. But on that note, we'll slip into a very short break. But on the other side, we'll bring you more stock-specific news and updates, so you stay tuned.
The consumption has actually stagnated, that's for sure.
Okay.
It's not increased. It may have increased at a very high. So there's a K-shaped kind of impact of the economy on the rich and the poor. You know, the rich have become far more richer.
You see the quarterly results from the hotel industry or airline industries, they're all-time highs.
Not throwing in the towel yet. You're still committed to your investments there.
For sure. We are all in.
Right? Product, placement, promotion, pricing. Which one do you think is most important right now?
No, I think distribution, as you rightly put it, is going through a transformation, you know, especially in big cities and even in mini metros also.
Talking a bit more about Marico in the sense, what are the next set of targets?
I think that's one, foods, premium products. So that is second. Number 3, the D2C brands.
सर इन्हें क्रिप्टो करके लाइफ सेट करनी है पर कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है
कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए हाँ सर डिफ्यूज द बॉम्ब ऑल द बेस्ट डर लग रहा है नहीं आता था हलवाई है इन्होंने सीखा है इसलिए ये कॉन्फिडेंट है अगर आपको क्रिप्टो में कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए तो क्रिप्टो सीखना होगा क्रिप्टो कोच CoinDCX लर्न करो क्रिप्टो करो
Crypto products and NFTs are unregulated and can be highly risky. There may be no regulatory recourse for any loss from such transactions.
IDBI बैंक फिक्स्ड डिपॉजिट एक ऐसा दोस्त जो दे खुशी भी और जरूरत में साथ भी। IDBI बैंक ऐसा दोस्त जैसा। छत टपक रही।
अरे शिफ्ट करने वाले हैं ना पापा, बस घर मिलने की देर है।
इसीलिए तो घर मैजिक ब्रिक्स पे देखिए, प्रॉपर्टी की पूरी इन्फॉर्मेशन विद एक्सपर्ट एडवाइस
और 15 लाख से ज्यादा प्रॉपर्टी ऑप्शंस हैं।
गुड। एटलीस्ट मेरा घर तो लाखों में होगा।
हेलो, आप कंबोडिया में कॉल सेंटर जॉब के लिए सिलेक्ट हो गए। ज्वाइनिंग अगले हफ्ते।
इतनी जल्दी? ये तो वीजा भी।
अरे टूरिस्ट वीजा पे जाके ट्रेनिंग शुरू करो, वर्क वीजा वहीं मिलेगा।
ट्रेनिंग में तौबा तो वाला डांस सिखाओगे? डांस? कंबोडिया जाकर मेरा पासपोर्ट छीन लोगे,
गुलामी करवाओगे, साइबर अपराध कराओगे, तो मैं तो तौबा तौबा ही करूंगा ना। मैं नहीं फंसूंगा। कई फर्जी एजेंट्स विदेशी नौकरी का झांसा देकर आपको फंसा लेते हैं, इसलिए हमेशा विदेश मंत्रालय द्वारा वेरीफाइड एजेंसी को ही चुनें और सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स अच्छे से चेक करें। ऐसी फर्जी कॉल की शिकायत यहां करें।
रुको, सोचो और एक्शन लो। मुथूट फाइनेंस गोल्ड ओवरड्राफ्ट, ब्याज सिर्फ उतने ही दिन का भरिए जितने दिन पैसे इस्तेमाल कीजिए। आज ही कॉल कीजिए 1-800-313-1212।
पंजाब को खेलों में देश का नंबर 1 राज्य बनाने के लिए मुख्यमंत्री भगवंत सिंह मान के नेतृत्व वाली पंजाब सरकार द्वारा बनाई गई नई व्यापक और कारगर खेल नीति। राज्य सरकार की इस नई खेल नीति के तहत बेहतर कोचिंग, खेल सामान और रिफ्रेशमेंट वाली क्लस्टर स्तर की 1000 खेल नर्सरियों की स्थापना की जाएगी। इसके साथ ही इस नीति के अंतर्गत मेडल विजेताओं के लिए विशेष काडर में 500 पोस्टों की व्यवस्था भी की गई है।
ਗੋਲੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਲੇਅਰ ਨੇ, ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨੇਬਾਜ਼ੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੇ, ਹਨਾ, ਤੀਰਅੰਦਾਜ਼ੀ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਕੁਸ਼ਤੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਗੇਮ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਛੱਡੀ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੇਮਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਜ਼ੋਨ ਬਣਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈ।
पंजाब सरकार द्वारा खिलाड़ियों को प्रोत्साहन देने के लिए पिछले 2.5 वर्षों में विभिन्न प्रतियोगिताओं के विजेता पंजाबी खिलाड़ियों को करोड़ों रुपयों की इनामी राशि बांटी जा चुकी है। पंजाब सरकार राज्य में खेल और खिलाड़ियों का कर रही है सर्वांगीण विकास।
Evolved by the future, the Kia Ceros, coming soon.
Kia, movement that inspires.
उत्तर प्रदेश में मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के कुशल नेतृत्व में विश्व की सबसे प्राचीनतम सनातन परंपराओं के वाहक महाकुंभ की युद्ध स्तर पर चल रही हैं तैयारियां।
इस पौराणिक और दुनिया के सबसे बड़े आध्यात्मिक और सांस्कृतिक समागम के माध्यम से प्रयागराज, उत्तर प्रदेश और भारत की इस समृद्ध सांस्कृतिक विरासत की छाप दुनिया के मंचों पर दें।
प्रदेश सरकार द्वारा महाकुंभ 2025 के सफल संचालन के लिए इंटीग्रेटेड कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर का किया जा रहा है अपग्रेडेशन। राज्य सरकार द्वारा सड़कों के रिन्यूअल और ब्यूटिफिकेशन के साथ साथ पॉन्टून पुलों के निर्माण का कार्य तेजी से किया जा रहा है पूरा। उत्तर प्रदेश में योगी सरकार महाकुंभ द्वारा विश्व में सनातन का लहरा रही है परचम।
तो क्या अगर आज अकेले निकल पड़े, कल कारवां लेके चलेंगे? तो क्या अगर छोटे शहर में बड़ा सपना देखा, मिलकर मुमकिन करेंगे? श्रीराम फाइनेंस हर इंडियन के साथ खड़ा है, क्योंकि भरोसा है हमें।
जब जुड़ेंगे तभी तो उड़ेंगे।
श्रीराम फाइनेंस।
Hi there, welcome back to Market Cafe. Let's keep it going with the stock-specific news and updates. And Ria is joining us with a list of all the stocks to closely watch out for in trade today. Ria, tell us what can we expect and where's all the excitement going to be today?
Well, absolutely. Good morning, Snehi. So let's take a look at the stocks that are going to be in focus today. First up, we have Paytm. Now, Paytm Singapore has decided to sell its stock acquisition rights in the Japanese payment firm called PayPay Corporation for the net proceeds of Japanese yen 41.9 billion, which is equivalent to rupees 2,364 crores. We also have two pharma stocks in focus. Now, the first one is Laurus Labs. Since the board has approved an investment of rupees 40 crores in its arm called Laurus Bio Private, and further, the board has also approved the execution of definitive agreements with investors such as 8 Roads Ventures and F Prime Capital for an investment of rupees 120 crores in Laurus Bio, and the companies and the investors will also have the right to invest an additional amount of up to rupees 350 million for the growth of Laurus Bio as needed until 31st of December 2025. There's also Biocon in
focus since they have received an EIR for a voluntary action indicated or a VAI status from the US FDA for the API facility in Bangalore. Also keep your eye out on SIAT today since they have acquired Camso brands off-highway tires and tracks business from Michelin for $225 million US. And also keep your eye out on Grasim since they have successfully commissioned the project expansion of caustic soda lye at the Gujarat plant yesterday for an increased capacity of 400 tons per day, resulting in an additional annualized revenue of rupees 500 crores. Lastly, there's also a Vodafone Idea in focus since the board is going to mull a fundraise via a preferential issue of shares today. So keep your eye out on all of these stocks today.
Well, absolutely, Ria. That's a whole host of stocks to watch out for on the back of their news flow. But let's also take it across to Jinay, who's standing by with an update of the stocks that you should be watching out for on the back of brokerage notes then. Jinay?
Well, yes, definitely. Let's start with Sun Pharma. Jefferies have initiated a buy rating and the target price is 21.50. Now, what they say is they're evaluating Sun's new specialty assets additions. The Sun has added actually two specialty assets, and they're evaluating and estimating the net present value of these two new products to be around $380 million US. And also they see an option value available on both of the sides. Also, CEAT will be in focus on the basis of the news flow. We have multiple brokerages. IIFL, they are maintaining a buy rating with a target price of 4,000. Now, the Michelin deal, they say that it's a good strategic fit and it will be EPS accretive for the company. They're estimating about 7 to 8% in EPS accretion in FY26. Also, it's a strong case for re-rating for the CEAT is what they believe. Axis Capital, they are also maintaining a buy rating and the target price is 34.50. Now, what they say the transaction will be executed at about a price to sales ratio of 1, which is an inexpensive multiple for the deal. Also, the acquisition aligns well with the company's focus of higher margin segments. And lastly, we also have a note by Investec who are maintaining buy rating and the target price is 3,750. Now, they're very optimistic about this specific acquisition and they believe that this is a step in right direction. Also, they're helping the fast tech companies growth into specialty tire segment. Also, CEAT continues to be the top tire pick in the whole tire segment.
For taking us through all of those brokerage notes, but let's keep it going with another brokerage note coming in, and this is on Godrej Consumer Products. Remember, over the course of the weekend, they've reported a Q3 update saying that the standalone business will report around flattish underlying volume growth and around mid-single-digit sales growth in Q3 due to impact seen on soaps and home insecticides, which each contribute 1/3 to the overall revenue. Rest of the portfolio is expected to see double-digit volume growth. Commodity inflation will keep margins below 24 to 27%. Internationally, Indonesia will be seeing mid-single-digit volume growth, and their GOM simplification will be completed in Q3 itself. On the back of that, you have UBS that's maintained a buy rating with a target price of 1,450 rupees. You also have a note from JP Morgan coming in. They've maintained an overweight with a target price of 1,410, where they say that the price hike may keep revenue at a mid-single-digit level. Higher than expected earnings risk is being seen right now, and earnings risk may impact the share price in the short term as well. That's JP Morgan's view coming in. Macquarie, then, they've maintained a neutral rating. However, they've cut the target price from 1,300 earlier to 1,260 now. They agree with the company's view that insecticide growth may just be a seasonal thing coming in. They're concerned about continued palm inflation delaying the path of normalization for the soap volume and margin, and they also believe that HUL is facing lower input cost pressures post a soap formulation change. So we'll have to see how this impacts GCPL as well, but that's the view coming in across the board. It's a neutral rating maintained by Macquarie. However, a price cut is coming in from that brokerage.
Well, absolutely. So Godrej Consumer is going to be the one to watch out for. But tell you what, let's get you some more news and updates from outside the world of stocks. Then India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri is likely to visit Bangladesh today amid tensions between the two countries after the interim government headed by Muhammad Yunus came to power. It is to be noted that this will be the first high-level visit by a senior Indian government official to Bangladesh since the interim government came to power on August 8th. Moving on then, 5 years after a devastating fire gutted France's Notre Dame, the cathedral is going to be reopening with a ceremony led by Archbishop Laurent Ulrich as well and attended by world leaders including President Macron, US President-elect Trump, marking the end of a 5-year restoration. Moving on to the national capital Delhi, then Delhi is set to experience a sharp dip in temperatures with the mercury expected to plunge to around 3 degrees Celsius from December 10th, according to the India's IMD. Now, it is to be noted that this significant drop also marks the onset of a cold wave that will also be gripping Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh along with the national capital until December 14th.
Okay, shifting focus back home, then amid farmers' Dilli Chalo protest, the top court is set to hear a plea today seeking the clearance of blockades on Punjab highways caused by farmer protests. Farmers paused their Delhi march after Haryana police used tear gas and water cannons yesterday. The next course of action will be announced soon. On the political front, then, BJP's Rahul Narvekar is all set to be elected unopposed as the Speaker of the Maharashtra Assembly after the Mahavikas Aghadi did not put up an opposing candidate. And while the opposition eyes key assembly posts like Leader of Opposition in the Assembly, they do not have that 10% strength required for it. On the sports front, then, it's not been a good weekend for us on the cricket front. Bangladesh defends the Under-19 Men's Asia Cup title. They beat India in the final by 59 runs at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. Bangladesh, who eliminated India in the 2023 semi-final, retains the title in a repeat of last year's performance. And after crushing defeat in the Perth Test, the Aussies have bounced back to hand Rohit Sharma and company a humiliating 10-wicket loss in the pink ball test at Adelaide. A mediocre performance with the bat and tactical errors saw India surrender without a fight in both the innings.
Alright, then with that, completely out of time on this edition of Market Cafe on ET Now, from me, Shreyansi Singh, Snehi Shah, as well as the entire team that put this show together. Thank you so much for tuning in. But you don't go anywhere because the market takes all of the action forward.
सर इन्हें क्रिप्टो करके लाइव सेट करनी है.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.